first, I need you to get very comfortable. Listen to my voice. Today we have Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs by the Brothers Grimm. Once upon a winter day, a queen sat sewing at her open window. As she looked out at the snow that lay over the palace garden, she pricked her finger with a needle, and 3 drops of blood fell on the snow, turning it into rosy pink. How beautiful it looks, she thought, and at that moment she wished for a child with skin as white as snow and rosy pink cheeks and hair as black as the ebony window frame. Soon she had a daughter with skin as white as snow and rosy cheeks and hair as black as ebony, and she was called Snow White. But sadly, the queen died, and a year later, the king married again. The new queen was beautiful, but so vain that she could not bear anyone to be lovelier than herself. She would often look into the magic mirror and ask, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" And the mirror would answer, "Oh, queen, you are the finest in the land." Then she was pleased, because the mirror always spoke the truth. But Snow White grew up, and by the age of 7, she was lovelier than the queen herself. This made the queen so jealous. She could hardly bring herself to look at Snow White. Instead, she looked at herself in the mirror and asked, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" And the mirror replied, "Oh, queen lovely, though you are, Snow White is lovelier by far." This made her so angry that she told one of her servants to take Snow White into the wild wood and kill her. "I never want to see her ever again," she said. The servant hurried away, and carrying Snow White on a horse, he rode out of the castle, across the hills, until they reached the middle of the wild wood. There he set her down on the ground and pulled out his knife. "Please don't hurt me," sobbed Snow White. "I will run away and promise never ever to return." The servant felt sorry for the poor child and let her go. The wild beasts would soon make a meal of her anyway, he thought, and he was glad not to have to kill her herself. The wild beasts would soon make a meal of her anyway, he thought, and he was glad not to have to kill her himself. So Snow White was left alone in the wild woods. She was very frightened and began to run, though she had no idea where she was going. The wild beasts hiding in the trees saw her distress and did not harm her. It was almost dark when Snow White finally came across a little house in a clearing. Too tired to run any further, she knocked on the door, but there was no answer. Opening the door gently, Snow White stepped inside. Everything in the house seemed to be so neat and tidy, but curiously small. There was a low table laid with 7 little plates and 7 little mugs. As Snow White was so hungry, she took a little food and drink from each place in turn. Then she saw 7 little beds against the wall. One of them was a little larger than the others, and as Snow White was so very tired, she crawled into it, pulled up the covers, and was soon fast asleep. Before long, the owner owners of the little house came home. They were 7 dwarfs who worked in the hills digging for gold. As soon as they went in, they realized someone had been there. "Hey, someone has been tasting my food and drink," said one of them. The others crowded round the table. "Yes, our food has been nibbled too," they said. The tallest dwarf looked around and cried out suddenly, "Quick, come and see, there's someone in my bed." They gathered round the bed, astonished to see a lovely little child sleeping in the soundly bed. Careful not to wake her, the dwarfs ate their supper and went to their beds, making room for their brother so they didn't disturb their visitor. The next morning, Snow White was as surprised to see the 7 little men as they had been to see her. She told them that her sad story had happened while they ate breakfast and hoped that they would let her stay with them. The dwarfs talked it over amongst themselves. "If you promise to keep the house neat and tidy and cook all of our meals," said the first dwarf at last, "then you can stay." "Oh, I will," said the Snow White, "and thank you all so much." And so it was. Every morning the dwarfs left to work in the gold and copper mines in the hills, while Snow White remained at home to do all of the housework. The dwarfs grew very fond of her, and each day warned her to look out for her stepmother. "She is sure to find out where you are, so make sure you do not let anyone into the house." But the wicked queen still thought Snow White was dead. Then one day she went to her magic mirror and asked it the usual question. This time the mirror replied, "You must know that Snow White lives with 7 dwarfs among the hills. Oh, queen, you may be lovely too, but she's far lovelier than you." The queen shook the mirror in a rage. Determined now to deal with Snow White herself, the queen masked her face and disguised as an old peddler woman. So she set out into the wild wood to find the home of the 7 dwarfs. "Pretty necklaces. Who will buy the pretty necklaces?" she croaked outside Snow White's window. The necklace sparkled so prettily that Snow White thought there would be no harm in taking just one. "This one is just right for you, my dear," said the old woman. "Come, let me put it on for you." But she pulled it so tightly around Snow White's throat that the poor child choked and fell down in a dead faint. "There's an end to all your beauty," she said, and she left for dead. The 7 dwarfs were horrified when they came home and Snow White sprawled on the ground. But then they saw the tight necklace around her neck and cut it loose at once. Snow White gasped for a breath, in a little while sat up again and felt better. So as soon as she was home again, the wicked queen went straight to the mirror, but she heard it once again. "Oh, queen, you may be lovely too, but Snow White is far lovelier than you." The queen screamed in anger, "Still alive? Now I will find something that you will definitely put an end to you." She took an apple that was golden on one side and red on the other, and filled the red side with poison. Then she disguised herself as a farmer's wife, put the apple carefully in a basket, and some other fruits too, and set off once more sale. Lovely juicy apples, she called as she reached to the house. Snow White opened the window. I'm not allowed to let anyone in, she said. Won't you just try one, said the woman. But Snow White shook her head. Are you afraid it's poisoned? Asked the woman, and she cut the apple in half. Here you have the lovely red half, and I will eat the other. But as soon as Snow White bit into the poisoned apple, she fell senseless to the ground. The queen cackled with glee as she went on her way. Fortunately, the 7 dwarfs came home early that day. When they lifted Snow White from the ground, the poisoned apple fell from her mouth and she was saved. The dwarfs reminded her that she must never, ever talk to strangers. Be more careful, for the wicked queen might yet again come after her. Back at her castle, the queen put on all her finest clothes before she went to look into the mirror. But when she heard exactly what came as an answer before, she cried, Snow White shall die if it costs all my life, and rushed out. She went straight to her secret witch's den, and then she brewed a terrible potion into which she dipped a golden comb. Putting on yet another disguise, she turned to the house and went to see Snow White. When Snow White heard the knock on the door, she opened the window and saw an old beggar selling combs. Forgetting the dwarf's warning once again, she felt so sorry for the old man that she bought the comb he offered to her. But as soon as she fixed the comb into her ebony long hair, the potion worked its magic and Snow White fell down dead. This time the dwarfs won't be able to wake you up again, said the beggar, who was, of course, the wicked queen in disguise. Back home in her castle, the queen went straight to the mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And the mirror at last replied, Oh, queen, you are the finest, fairest in the land. And the wicked queen was so happy, as far as the wicked heart could ever be. The dwarfs came home to find Snow White lying upon the ground, and nothing they did could revive her. They laid her gently on a bed and wept. This time Snow White was truly dead. We cannot bury her in the cold earth, they said, so they put her in a glass coffin instead, and on it they mounted a plaque engraved with her name and that she was a king's daughter. They placed the coffin on a mound sheltered by trees. The dwarfs took it in turn to watch over her. The birds and the creatures of the forest came too, and all mourned Snow White. And so she remained for a long, long time, and still she looked as lovely as ever, with her skin as white as snow, the rosy cheeks and the hair as black as ebony, as if they were only sleeping. It happened one day that the prince came riding through the wild wood and saw the coffin. As soon as he gazed upon Snow White, who had by then turned into a beautiful lady, he fell deeply in love with her. I cannot live without her, said the prince. Please let me take her with me. He begged the dwarfs. Not for all the gold in the world she will not come with you. But the prince was so heartbroken that eventually they agreed to let him take Snow White and the coffin back to his castle. The moment he lifted it up, the poisoned comb fell out of Snow White's hair, and news of the prince's engagement spread through the land. The 7 dwarfs were of course invited to the royal wedding, but the wicked witch was not. The next time that she asked her mirror, she asked once again, "Mirror, mirror, tell me true, who's the fairest? Tell me who?" The mirror answered, "Oh, queen, lovely though you are, the princess is lovelier by far." The queen cried out bitterly, "Who is this new princess? How dare she be lovelier than me?" She put on her grandest clothes and went to the prince's palace to see for herself. Imagine her startled surprise when she arrived and saw that the princess was none other than Snow White. The queen gave her a strangled cry and faded clean away. Her footman carried the wicked queen back to her coach and returned her to the castle, and there she remained for the rest of her days, growing old and ugly. But Snow White and her prince lived for many years in peace and happiness. Thank you for listening, boys and girls. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and mention in the comments the next stories that you would like to hear. Good night.